G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Got something pretty awesome to show you. This is the latest camera from Canon, the Canon PowerShot V10. Now V is a new series in the extensive range of cameras to come from Canon, and this one is video first focus. So as you can possibly imagine, even by me just saying that, it's just kind of focused on the blogger, social media, influencer market that we're starting to see. In fact, when I was at the briefing for this, Canon was saying that there's 1 in 4 Australians now consider themselves to be creators, and that number in Australia has doubled since the start of COVID to about 6 million Australians. And that 50% of those guys don't actually try and monetize it, it's just for the pleasure and the fun of it. So this camera, the V10, is aimed at kind of hitting that market, Gen Z for the most part. Now, as you can see, a very different form factor for what you're used to with most of the Canon devices. But in fact, to be honest, it's quite different from anything else I've seen on the market, and I'll show you why. The screen flips up like that, and then a little stand comes out of the bottom here, like so. And that allows it to sit, and you can tilt it and use it however you want to basically set up an on-the-go, really easy to use vlogging camera. Now you can of course hold it in your hand, so you got to, but you notice there that doesn't swing down when the screen's closed. It's a 2-inch screen there. You just got to tuck it in correctly. Now you can of course just hold it like so, or hold it in portrait like this. Now the screen does come with 14 aspect ratio markers on it, so you can kind of set yourself up in different ways and see what you're going to look like on the screen. However, you've still got to then cut that in post to the aspect ratio that you want. Now, one of the things that, having mucked around with this for a little bit, this is only just kind of arrived in the country, is in portrait mode, you can kind of stand it up like this using the stand, as you can see there, but you can't tilt in this mode. So as you can probably tell just from looking at there, that's pointing at your belly button basically. You really want it to be there, especially if you're a tall bugger like me. Whereas when you've got it in this mode, you can really change the angle to whatever suits. So that's a little bit of a I guess, design flaw, maybe harsh considering how, I guess, experimental they are with this, but certainly somewhere where they could potentially improve in the future. Otherwise, you're looking at here, you've got a 1-inch CMOS sensor inside. Now it's a 19mm wide angle lens. It can deliver 4K at 30 frames a second or HD at 60 frames a second, which is, look, it's okay. It's not amazing. If you put it against, for example, the GoPro Hero 11, which is shooting up to 5.3K, can do 120 frames a second slow-mo, that type of thing, for a similar, well, a smaller size footprint. And while that is an action camera, it does also work quite well as a vlogging camera, especially if you get the new creator kit that came out with the Hero 11, which I have used. It works quite well on that. So if you put it against that, it doesn't really stack up. Having said that, I don't think that the audience for this necessarily needs to be shooting in 4K or 5.3K. Indeed, this video that I'm doing right now, I'll upload in HD because it's just not worth stuffing around with 4K videos when you're just doing YouTube videos and social media blogs and stuff like that. So it probably doesn't hit it as hard as you might think. Obviously, it can take stills as well. 20 megapixel lens on this. So probably a bit under what I would expect from someone who is traditionally a camera maker. I would have thought the stills might have been a little bit better on that. But you're looking at a 6mm focal length, 2.8 aperture as well on this. So it's still pretty good. And you get a lot of that other kind of Canon features like the auto-focusing, the face tracking. There's an auto ND filter on this bad boy as well. There's different color filters and things like that you can use. Connectivity-wise, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, it also doubles as a webcam, so you can just put this straight out. So you've got a 1-inch sensor webcam, which is pretty damn awesome actually for this price range, and it's going to give you a good quality webcam experience. So that flexibility is really nice. And through the Canon app, you can also stream directly to YouTube, directly to Facebook, or YouTube if you've got 1,000 subscribers, because that's the limit. But you can do that directly from this device. So that adds extra flexibility as well. Dual mics on top, which are reasonably sheltered from the wind. Obviously, it's got no fur, but the dual mic system on there. Now, you can also plug in through a 3.5mm jack here to get some extra recording equipment into it. However, I would prefer to be able to plug in USB-C into my for my recording because I use the Wireless Go 2. So if you're the Rode Wireless Go 2, it chooses USB-C. So if you are someone who uses a USB-C microphone at the moment, it's not going to work with this, which is a bit of a pain in my opinion. Obviously size-wise, as you can see, it's a fair bit smaller than my hand. It's 211 grams from memory, so that's not too bad. That's smaller than my wallet. So that just fits in your pocket quite well. The thing that does concern me a little bit is you can see from sight on there, it protrudes at the front with a lens, and the screen also is a little bit awkward in the way that it sits. So it does catch a bit as you pull it in and out of your pocket and just catch on random things, and there's no protection on either of those. So it's like with the usual Canons, you can reticulate this and turn it around and put it in so it doesn't get damaged. That's not the case here. So I am a little bit worried that over a long period of use that this might actually end up scratching or otherwise causing some drama there. But the screen itself is quite nice as a touch screen, and if you can see there, it's kind of traditional with the Canon control system and menus and stuff there. So if you're a regular Canon member, Canon user, you're not going to get lost in any of that, you know, press the Q button stuff around, do all that type of stuff going. So very, very intriguing entry into the market. Now this is $699.95 here in Australia. It's releasing, I was told June 11, but when I got at the briefing, when the press release came out, it just said vaguely, it just said June. So it might slip slightly, but think around mid-June, you could be pretty safe that this is going to come out. At $699, look, you know, it's not a bad price. The GoPro Hero 11 just had a price cut and dipped down to $649.95. I literally had a price cut yesterday on May 10, today's May 11. So it's around the same price as that. So that's going to give you a bit of an idea of whether or not the PowerShot V10 is right for you. We're going to go use this for a little bit and show you what it looks like when you're actually shooting through this rather than shooting through my phone as I am right now. And yeah, pretty neat.
Okay, so now I've switched over to the PowerShot V10 itself, so you can get a kind of direct comparison right now between this and shooting on a Samsung S22 phone, which I just was a second ago. What I'm going to do now is just basically talk a little bit so you can see how the microphones work. I'm also going to get up and move around. So right now I've just got it set up on this little stand, and then I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to walk outside, walk around to a few different light situations. We're going to get a bit more ambient noise going, just so you can get a quick indication of how this thing performs. I will try and go more in depth later on in another video. This is just straight out of the box. I haven't stuffed around with any of the settings. This is default settings. This is what you would get if you just pulled it out and pressed the shoot button, which is literally what I just did. So let's go have a look. So you can see that the angle is definitely wide enough. No problems there whatsoever. What I'm going to be most intrigued about is how it adapts to the lighting as I move in and out of these spaces. You can see there it hasn't really exposed the sky too well at the moment. A little bit in shadow. We'll walk around and see what happens, eh? And I didn't mention before though, unlike say a GoPro, this isn't going to have that waterproof, that submergible water situation you get with action cameras. That's something to consider. There you go. It's kind of adapting pretty well. It's hard to see on this little screen. I'll have to look in post, but that gives you a bit of an idea of what to expect. Now, if I move over here and talk over here, how's the audio changing as I move that from one side to the other? You be the judge. You get a bit of an idea. Now, there's not too much noise around at the moment. A couple of cars in the distance, someone using a drill, a few dogs barking. Not exactly, say, standing in a really popular tourist destination with lots of chatter going on. But hopefully getting a good read there of how the microphone works. Now I'll just walk back into the house and I will walk into a dark room and we'll just see how that performs in some pretty serious low light. I can see it's tracking my face quite well in terms of the autofocus, which is really good. And we'll walk back in, see how it adapts. So a little bit of lag, but that's not too bad. I'll go right into a dark room here. Alright, it's quite dark in here, but it still has pulled me out to a certain extent. All right, well there you go. There's a little quick demo of how the PowerShot V10 performs in real life.
So there you go, that's the PowerShot V10, the first in what is likely to be a new range of V cameras for the Canon range. I'm really stoked with what they've done here, not necessarily because it's the perfect example of what this could be, but just because it's really branching out and hitting a target market very specifically with a unique design, some unique features, and a new way of approaching the concept. So for being brave and putting themselves out there, I'm giving Canon extra points for that. And the price and what it offers is also pretty on the money, I think. So yeah, definitely if you're looking for a vlogging camera, put the PowerShot V10 on your list of items to compare. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chris Stead. Until next time, see you later.